Celebrating ideas, exploring perspectives, reaching minds, and reaching lives. Good evening to everyone. I'm Benjamin Yao, and this is the Fourlobes 2012 video interview segment, episode 3, whereby my guest for today is our founding writer, whom being part of the Fourlobes since day one, with her article, The Moment I Have Been Waiting For, that talks about her great ambitions of being a writer. And now she is doing foundation in arts in University of Otago, New Zealand. She is none other than Miss Lim Li Anne. Good evening, Li Anne.
Oh, hi. Good evening.
So I would like to start this session by asking, why New Zealand?
Why New Zealand? Well, I would say that it's definitely the influence of my parents.
Mm-hmm.
My mom studied here for 3 years, and she worked here for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Not in Dunedin, but in Wellington.
Mm-hmm.
And then she was the one who introduced New Zealand to my dad and my elder siblings,
Mm-hmm.
who have studied in this University of Otago, and then I'm just following through the tradition.
Okay, that sounds very family-like tradition. Now, you have lived in New Zealand for almost 3 months, so tell us briefly what it's like to live in New Zealand.
What it's like to live in New Zealand? Well, firstly, I can say that living here has definitely been more healthy for me. I don't know whether it's the influence of people around here or just coming here in general, but in Malaysia you tend to stay inside and you just sleep late whenever you want, and then you take really long naps and you eat too much and things like that. You don't exercise.
Yes.
But in New Zealand it's different, so you have to walk all the time. I have to walk from class to class, get to my bus stop, and walk some way away, and I sleep like an average of 6 to 7 hours a day now, which is totally different from what happened in Malaysia. So it's more healthy, it's more peaceful, and it's definitely more fulfilling, I'll say.
That sounds very promising and very great for you. Now, let's touch to the hard part. So what is the hardest part in coping with a brand new environment and surroundings?
Well, what's the hard part? To be honest, it hasn't been really difficult because I'm really lucky to have the support of my parents and my friends and everything. But if you were to ask the hardest part, it's probably making new friends, I guess. Not that there's anything wrong with like an intercultural class, but sometimes you just tend to hesitate. Like you doubt whether they would accept you for who you are and your interests and everything. So that's the hardest part, like talking to them, getting to know them, like more than just classmates, but as a friend, not just hi-bye friends, but to know them more and to make sure that you get along with them really well and not offend them by accident. Because you have to be careful with what you do around here. If you're not careful, you may offend someone by accident.
Okay, that's a very relatively good response. Now, we are curious, what is the greatest difference between life in Dunedin and life in Petaling Jaya?
The greatest difference. The greatest difference, other than the climate, I guess.
Yeah, because almost everyone got interviewed, they are talking about the climate and they're saying it's very cold and such. So apart from climate, what else do you think is the greatest difference?
If we talk about the different things, I think, you know what, I think I'll talk about my studies instead.
Okay,
Like
good.
the most different thing. Let's say like in Malaysia, many people had 10 subjects in our school. I had 12. But here we only have 5 for the course that I chose. And that I think is one of the most different things. Like I find that my lifestyle is not so busy anymore as opposed to Malaysia. I always had tuitions and a whole lot of work.
Yes.
And it was really chaotic. But here I realized that I have more responsibilities as like a more grown-up student now, but it is not as taxing as what it has been in Malaysia. I'm more free to do leisurely things. I can afford to hang out with my friends more often, and that's
Yes,
Or maybe
yes.
that's because that I have the choice to do what I really like now, and it's not like the government is forcing you to study this or that.
Yeah. Well, now since you mentioned about education, I would like to touch on the education aspect. So, what made you choose a foundation program instead of those typical pre-U courses like A levels, South Australian matriculations, and such?
It's quite simple. I didn't choose them because I just wasn't interested in them. But if you want me to elaborate furthermore, let's just say that after no, I actually set my sights on doing like a foundation in arts program ever since I was form 3. Even though pressure from my parents and relatives was quite great, I might say. It wasn't that I found A levels like boring or anything, but it's just that they didn't really cater subjects to what I wanted. I knew that, like, in Malaysia, most of the time when you do A levels, it's mostly the 3 sciences.
Yeah.
Definitely 3 sciences.
Yes.
Although, like, let's say in UK, if you do A levels, it could be for other things like law.
Yes.
But for like other courses, like they had a whole lot of math and statistics and stuff, and it just wasn't what I wanted. So since I knew I was going to be in New Zealand, I just started looking around to see what kind of courses it would be, and I found arts was like, pretty good. I think I kind of like this. So okay, I'll go for this one. That's it. Yeah.
Glad that you are satisfied with that. Now I will touch a bit about things here in Malaysia. So, from your Facebook wall, you are aware about the ongoings of the current affairs in Malaysia, particularly and especially the Bersih 3.0 gathering. So, what is your take on public gathering?
Take on public gatherings. Well, from my personal point of view, I think that public gatherings should be allowed freely, as long as there are limitations imposed, like as long as it's a peaceful gathering and not one meant for violence. From what I gathered on the online resources that I saw on the Bersih 3.0, it was supposed to be a peaceful gathering, but I don't think it's like a miscommunication, but I think that it was just more of oppression from the police themselves and the government who is supporting them from the back. And I really think that the voices of the people deserve to be heard, that they are the ones who live in the country. They have the right to express themselves freely. And I don't know, I'm not really sure about New Zealand's state of affairs, but like let's say the news over here, there's actually like this close-up program that talks about controversial issues in New Zealand, and people can actually like they can voice in their opinions through like Facebook and like SMSs and stuff, and these opinions will actually be shown on the TV itself for everyone to see, like what people think about the country and stuff. So it's like a whole transparent issue. There are no lies and there are no like cover-ups and stuff. So I think that should be the way it goes. No censor, no particular censorship. Just freedom of speech as long as it's appropriate.
So, in your opinion, which part of the society in Malaysia that obstructs Malaysia to go towards that part, that, as you mentioned, an open society?
If you ask me, I think that genuine cooperation is necessary, and not just fake propaganda, but actual cooperation. No racial discrimination, no special rules like I'm better than you, I deserve to have this spot because I happen to be this race. Like a fair treatment based on the abilities of the person. Like since you're good, I don't care what race you are, you're Malaysian, you're gonna be on the top. That sort of thing. So I think that what's happening in Malaysia now is that the ones who are truly talented, they're getting away. they think they have a better future out there, and so they go out there. And the reason for that is because that the country isn't treasuring the resources that they have, and we actually need these bright people to come back. We need them because the country needs them, and it's simple as that.
True.
So in order for Malaysia to become like a better country, I think to prosper more, we need the bright minds. But to have these bright minds first, we need to stop racial discrimination, and we need to get these people back.
A fairly and a reasonable good explanation you have. I have another question in mind. So what is your take on free education in tertiary level?
Free education. That is probably the ideal thing for students. And I think that education for the young ones, not young ones, I mean not considered young, but I think education is really necessary for everyone. And I think that everyone deserves to be educated, regardless of their family background, like whether they're rich or poor, everyone deserves it. So, but of course, if you want me to think about it, having free tertiary education, it won't come cheap. Let's say like, for every single person, the university fees it's probably 10,000 or something. So if university education was to be free for everyone, just imagine how much the government would have to subsidize for it. But you know what? I actually think it's possible, as long as the country puts it as its priority and stops using its money for the other less important things. For the past few years, there have been a lot of controversial issues on how Malaysia spends money. Like, I'm not sure whether you remember this, but there's been this plan of building like a 100-story block around KLCC, was it?
The Warisan Tower.
Yeah, that's just one classic example. And sending people into space, that's another. Not that I think it's useless, it might be good for something, but it probably isn't suitable for us at this stage yet, when we haven't sorted out so many things yet. So I think that tertiary education should be free, or if that isn't possible, then the interest rates on like student loan thing, maybe they could, maybe they don't need to like have so much interest rates for that, like lower it. For here in New Zealand, like if you're a resident here or if you're a citizen, you get student loans, student allowances, and it's all interest free. So yeah, that's my take on it.
Okay. Now, before we end this session, let's end it with a lighter note. Since you've been in New Zealand 3 months ago, what is the thing that you miss the most about Malaysia?
Oh man, what do I miss the most? The food.
Oh, the food.
It was like 3 months ago since I had laksa, fried rice for that matter. Although there are takeaways here, but still, I'm not really sure what I miss about Malaysia, to be honest. Thanks to technology nowadays, I can just talk to anyone I want to, right, without being physically there. Like, I don't know, it's just so easy to nowadays. Back then, like, we had to send a letter once a month, and it would take a long time to get over there. That's snail mail. But now it's like just, if I want to talk to my family, I can just write them. I talk to my friends, I'll just drop them a Facebook message. When I say happy birthday, oh, it's your birthday on Facebook, I'll just send you a message.
Okay.
And that's it. I do admit that I miss like some people in Malaysia, but it's not to the point where I feel super homesick or anything.
Oh, of course.
And thanks to like technology, like I can do the things that I would like over here.
Yes.
So it's probably just the food, since you really have to be there to physically eat it. And that's around it, honestly.
Okay, I would like to thank you for accepting my interview request. I've been speaking to Lim Li Anne, one of our founding writers of The Four Lobes since day one, and you have been watching the episode 3 of our The Four Lobes 2012 video interview segment. Good day to everyone.